Hi, and welcome to the Jake Roque Show, a podcast dedicated to the pursuit of being happier, healthier, wealthier, and wiser. Each episode, I interview an interesting creative entrepreneur, thought leader, successful business person, or all-around cool human, and see how we can gain some applicable knowledge to better ourselves and expand our worldview. On this episode, I'm joined by the juiciest podcast host on the planet, Taylor King of TK's Juicy Pod, about her experience moving to LA, how she started working in the YouTube scene for YouTubers like Alisha Marie, tips for starting a podcast, and just how to be an epic human being. Without further ado, here's Taylor. Yeah, thanks for being on the show.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me. First of all, we're being filmed right now, which I'm not
I don't think
really
we look at the
used
camera
to.
really.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
we don't, okay.
Yeah.
But I'm just
to set that precedent.
Yeah, I just feel weird because typically I feel like I do not look good while I'm podcasting. So now I'm like, oh my God, am I You
gotta stay smiling.
Yeah, I know.
And sit up straight.
Sit
posture.
up straight. Yeah, act
It's
like
tough.
a lady. It's hard.
Act like
it's really
a lady.
hard for me.
I feel that. Amazing. Taylor, where are you from?
I am from Bloomington, Indiana. And do you know where Indiana is on the map?
I do. I've heard of it. Yes,
Okay.
I've been there once actually.
You have?
Yeah, on a tour with a performing group from my college.
Oh, cool.
So,
okay,
yeah.
hold on. I'm gonna take my earrings out because I feel like they're subtly making
little
noise,
dangly.
and we don't want that. Even though they're cute. Okay, so I feel like I'm about to get in a fight. Taking my earrings out, you know?
It's getting serious.
Yeah. So I'm from Bloomington, Indiana, and I was born and raised there. I went to high school, elementary, everything there, and my parents, I actually lived there because my dad's originally from Indiana, but my mom's from Canada. And so I was born and raised and Midwest girl through and through. I would still say I'm definitely a Midwest girl, even though I'm on the West Coast now, and I moved to LA to go to school at FITM.
Okay, epic. What were you like I'm baby Taylor King, as a kid? What were you like?
I can actually show you pictures, but I was pretty much like me now, but probably even crazier, which is hard to believe. I had bright white hair, bright, super blonde. And I was just a ball of energy. I feel like I have home videos. Those are I feel like I could sell those one day because I was just my mom would always be videoing me because I would be out by our pool or whatever, just dancing, doing my own thing by myself, or bossing my brother around to do dances and cheers with me. And that was just how I was growing up. And then I was really into, my family is a big sports family.
Okay.
So I was always into being competitive, being
Did you play sports?
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Which ones?
So, oh gosh, everything.
Yeah.
Well, I grew up, I played soccer, I played basketball, I played softball, gymnastics was my main one. I did dance, I even went to every summer, I went to a camp, I went to an acting camp, I went to Christian camps, I went to this tumbling camp called Woodward, which you may actually know of because it's also a skateboarding and snowboarding and BMX and action sports camp.
Okay.
So it'd be all these cheerleaders and gymnasts and stuff, and then all these rad BMX yang loose people. But it was kind of cool because we're all flipping. You know what I mean? We're all doing flips
Everybody's
and
out
tricks.
flipping.
So and I also, what else did I play? Pretty much the only thing that I didn't play was volleyball, and I wish I would have because I love watching volleyball, and I feel like I would have been good at it. Oh my God, I'm
easy
missing
to play
my two.
beach volleyball in adulthood too.
Yes, I'm missing my two most played sports in high school. I played golf and tennis.
Epic.
So
okay,
I played
golf.
in high school. I played tennis and cheer, and then I golfed just for fun, but when I was little I golfed competitively.
Okay.
And I played in tournaments.
So how old
and
are
stuff.
you? I'm trying to picture a 10-year-old Taylor King playing golf somewhere.
No, I was I started golfing and playing tennis ever since I was really little.
Wild. That's cool.
So I had little baby clubs. They were pink. They were really cute.
Yeah.
And I started probably doing tournaments when I was in I don't know, second, third, fourth grade.
Okay.
Doing stuff like that.
Amazing.
I remember I would get mad. Like I would want to like, because golf's so mental. Like I would want to like throw my club and stuff at like a young age. And then I think my parents were like, okay.
Yeah. Interesting. I feel like
I still love to golf and I still love to play tennis.
Yeah. Yeah. We should go play tennis sometimes.
Oh,
I've played
so down.
I've played like 3 times. But
No
I think
one
it's super
here
fun.
cares about sports or wants to play, so I'm
Dude,
always looking for people.
I feel that. Yeah. You know what's interesting too is I feel like sports play a really interesting role in people's lives that like enjoy building businesses and like starting their own thing, because it's like business. I super get like the side of being really competitive.
Yeah.
Like I grew up and that was like, you know, we talked about it on your podcast before, but sports were like a big part of me growing up. And I feel like business in a way is like a new game.
Oh,
you know?
absolutely.
And it's like a fun way. It's like a fun game to like, you know, when you accomplish something and you like quote unquote win, whether it's like if you're someone that's like making a sale or like someone subscribing to your channel or, you know, someone's like you get new clients for whatever it is, it feels like you're like have accomplished something or you like achieve something in a game almost, you know, and if you view it that way, it like stays fun, especially if you're doing something that you actually enjoy.
Absolutely.
You know, which is a huge part of that.
That's such a good, I feel like I've learned I'm such a big fan of sports because you learn so much more than, you know, being athletic and learning the skills and the tricks and the tools to be good at that sport. But I feel like you learn discipline, you learn teamwork, you learn so many things that goes into it that's like much bigger than like winning the game or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, like I grew up, literally my life was sports. Like in Indiana, there really isn't much to do besides like play basketball and like run in cornfields.
Yeah.
So that's why sports was, I feel like for everyone, like even still when I go back to this day, like people are like, oh my God, did you watch this game? Like every night someone's watching some game or of some sort. So it's a really big part of my life.
Totally. That makes sense. So we got baby TK hanging out in Indiana doing
and
your
actually
thing.
that's where my nickname got developed through sports.
Oh yeah, that makes sense, because when you're playing sports, like there's not time. I find a lot of times when I play basketball, I like shorten everyone's name because it's like there's not time to say like, hey Michael, move over here, you know. It's like Mike. Here, Mike, you know, like or whatever one syllable thing you could say, you throw out somebody.
TK or King, get over here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
yeah, epic. So we got baby TK learning the ropes of life and sports and everything. You're living in Indiana, so now you're here. You're working as a producer. You work for Alisha.
Yes.
You do really cool things with her. You have your own podcast that you host.
Yes.
It's getting more and more successful as time is going on, which is epic. Like, how did you get from there to living in LA? You went to FITM, but like, what were the pieces that got you from there to where you're at right now?
Well, getting from Indiana to like LA was like a huge, I always knew I would go, I actually wanted to graduate and I wanted high school and I wanted to play a sport in college.
Okay.
But then I realized, okay, I'm like so passionate about being creative and I'm so passionate about, you know, my career and stuff. And the sports that I did, like I wasn't good enough at like tennis and golf to really take it to the collegiate level. But with cheer and stuff, I was like, okay, I can't really do much with this. So even though I wanted to cheer and I could have, I decided I wanted to take the more like career route. So I moved out to LA, and like that transition from Indiana to LA is like moving to a foreign country. Yeah. I mean, that's like, I feel like I could have gotten adjusted to like London or other foreign countries more than I could LA. Like the amount of time it took me to get used to LA, I always tell people it's like minimum 3 years. It's a
culture shock. Yeah. Even for me from Huntington Beach to LA.
Yeah.
Which is an hour and a half drive. Totally like
different.
Yeah, super different culture, like things that are important, like pace.
Yes.
Like a lot of stuff. Yeah, it was a lot more relaxed. I equate like a lot of times like the beach towns in OC, like people talk about being like the South, you know?
Yeah.
In the like more relaxed like vibe and just like the culture and everything.
Exactly.
So I get the vibe of like the culture shock when you come here and you're like, oh wow.
Yeah.
Like, and everything's weird and intense, and it's like good in some ways and like weird in some ways, you know, but yeah.
And I moved straight to downtown LA too, which is like a beast even within LA.
Yeah.
So that transition, like that is where I like had my worst times, but those were my most pivotal times because that taught me a lot. So like things that I learned during that time, I mean, I honest to God probably filled out like 5 to 6 to 7 transfer applications and like got into the schools and like didn't go, which thank God I didn't go. But like I wanted to leave. Like it was so hard. Like there were so many times where I'd FaceTime my parents or FaceTime like friends and I'd be bawling my eyes out. Like I just want to come home. Like I want to come home.
So common too.
I was so homesick. Like all I wanted to do in Indiana was get out of Indiana. And like the second I got out, I was like, I just wanted to go back. I didn't know a soul. I didn't know any friends, family, like an aunt, a cousin, nothing, like no even like Instagram or like YouTube friends. Like I wasn't really into that yet.
Yeah.
And like I knew no one when I moved here. I didn't know my roommate.
What year was this? How long ago was this?
This was a week after I turned 18. So I'm 22 now.
Yeah. So 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just turned 22. Actually about this time, like a month ago, this year, is when I moved here.
Okay.
So 4 years.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Epic.
So it was like a week after I turned 18 and I moved out here, and it was like that move and surviving was like the hardest thing for me. I mean, there were so many times like where I just remember like being in my room, like crying, just like not wanting to be here or not being happy, or just like I would always look forward to the next time I was going to be home.
Right.
Like I went home all the time.
Yeah.
But I would just say like, for anyone that wants to move to LA, know that's going to be hard as shit. I don't know if I can cuss on here.
Go for it.
It's going to be very hard, and you have to, if you're going to go, I like thank my parents every day. If you're going to go to LA, you have to make sure that your parents don't let you come back.
Yeah.
Like,
interesting.
And your parents can't come visit you.
Interesting.
Like you have to survive for like the first like year, like of course have them come visit like after 6 months, but like you have to survive by yourself and figure it out and like not go home, like not
That's an
have
important
them.
part of life is
parents.
Yeah.
It's the parents too.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't
you have
have
to
been
let
here
them figure it out.
if my parents would have said, okay, sweetie, yeah, you can come home, we'll book you a flight, or like you can book your own flight. I wouldn't have been here still.
Yeah.
Like I know I wouldn't have. And my parents were like, no, you want to go there, you have to figure it out and you have to stay there. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, whether it's your parents or people that know you well or whatever it is, having someone that's like, no, you know that this is what you want. Like
when something goes bad, they can't come out here and help you.
It's not just going to be easy all the time. And like, but if you know what you actually want, like put your head down, move towards it. You know,
and
you need those like tough love people in your life.
And my parents growing up, I've always been raised with tough love, so I was used to that. But thinking about me and when I have a kid one day, like I can't even fathom like being like absolutely not, like hearing my kid crying, like not like just wanting to come home and being like absolutely not, suck it up.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
I thank my parents for that. So I learned so much about the people in LA. I used to hate the people. I used to blame the city all the time. I'd be like, oh, the people in LA stink. The boys in LA aren't straight. Blah, 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 blah.
Especially you go to fit them, right? You like probably have a hard time dating.
There are so many things that I would like blame the city for. You know, you have to be so hot. Oh, this person has so much money. Oh, this person's dad is Will Ferrell. Like, you know, things like that.
It's easy to say like, oh, they have it
so
because,
easy to blame the city,
like,
right?
And I only have, you know.
And like the second that I got plugged into a church and I met my best friend, Kenzie Elizabeth, who I met you through.
Yes.
And I've met literally everyone in LA through.
Yeah.
But once I got plugged in and I met the right people, even just that one person, it was like life changing for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's super important. I feel like when you come out here, especially when you don't have like any friends or anything that you're moving out with, right? Like finding community. And like that's what it's all about. And when you find people that like resonate with what you do and are excited about the same things as you, it changes your motivation. It also keeps you like psyched about what you're doing because you do something. Like even now, right? We were talking about this earlier, but I posted the first video that I posted on YouTube in a year, which is insane.
Wait, today?
So, no, yes, or 2 days ago.
You did?
It was,
oh my God, congrats.
It had been, and I didn't even mean to do it, but it was exactly August 15th, 2018.
That's wild.
Followed up to August 15th, 2019. And it's crazy because like, it's kind of what I'm doing, right? You know, and I kind of started doing a few other things and was working for people in the YouTube space, was still involved in it. And then was also like building a personal training business, which we may talk about a little bit more later. But in that time, like like I pulled away from it. But then when I came back, and to have all the people that are like, yo, like, we're stoked for you, like, we're on your team, and like, was to be like, to have people that are even, you know, doing this full time or whatever it is, being like, yo, like, good work, like, keep doing what you're doing, because like this is what it's about, you know.
Even now, like I would have never thought this in a gazillion years. Like even now, seeing like some girls that are still at FITM struggling and like looking at me as their like, not role model, but looking as someone to look up to, and like, okay, if Taylor can do it, then I can do it.
Hell yeah.
Like I can't even believe that I'm at that point. Like for some people, you know, because there's so many people that were that for me.
Yeah.
And like now it's like nice because it motivates the crap out of me. Like, okay, I got to keep grinding because people are looking up.
Yeah, exactly.
And I got to help them out.
You don't want to let people down. I think that like being in a position of leadership is something that like keeps you motivated.
Yeah.
And I think
absolutely.
like that's almost as important as like leading other people, is like being in a position where you stay motivated. Also, something we talked about this morning was I listened back to our podcast.
Yeah.
And it was in a time of my life where like for a you know, months period, I was super consistent on my morning routine. I've probably done it like 2 or 3 times in the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And I listened to it again, and I was like, if I'm gonna like, you know, if I'm gonna be the guy that says,
that
you know,
talks
this
about
stuff's
it.
that's good for you, right? Then I gotta be like, you know, I gotta like act like I'm like, I know that's good for me.
Gotta walk the walk.
Right. And so even to be in that position, it reminds you of like, even it reminds you like, yo, I know this is important. Like, if I tell other people that it's important, like, I know that it's important. Why wouldn't I do it? You know, for whatever that is. I think it's like, you know, from a business perspective, from like a maybe social media perspective, from like a spiritual perspective kind of thing. I think that like leadership is a valuable thing to like hold you accountable.
Isn't that cool to go back and kind of listen and know exactly where you were at that moment, and to like see, I re-listened to it as well, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I've grown so much just from that. Yeah. And that was, when was that? That was beginning of January
or
February.
So like 8 months ago or so.
Okay, cool. Yeah. That's interesting.
When we actually recorded it. Yeah. So
I need to do that more. I feel like it motivates me.
Yeah. It was good. And that was the thing. I was like, I'm being motivated by like
myself.
Old me, right? Yeah. Cause you learn stuff in life, and it's easy to like, you know, 8 months go by, you might not be in the same exact mindset.
So true.
So like, even to be reminding yourself like, yo, this is what's important. This is what I should be doing. This is like, it's valuable. I think you need that constant reminders too. That's a little bit of a tangent, but I feel like part of what makes Gary Vee so successful is he is someone who pretty much says the same stuff.
Yeah, he says it in a different way.
He says the same stuff in a different way over and over and over. And sometimes it like still hits me. I don't consume his content like a ton, but I follow him on Instagram. And sometimes I'll scroll across something and be like, hell yeah, you know, but it's like, I know that, but you got to hear it again. You know, sometimes there's stuff in life that you need to like hear, you know, moderately frequently to like keep at the top of your mind because it's good for you. And so he's someone like that. And like, like looking for those people that you can check in with and be like, oh yeah, that's right.
It's kind of like when your mom tells you the same thing over and over and over again. And then like one of your friends you like looked up to tells you it, and it hits different. Yeah, like you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to listen to you now because like, I'm not going to listen to my mom or whatever. Yeah. Like, I feel like that for me happens all the time where I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, I've heard this 8 gazillion times, but you are the one that motivated me to do it.
Right. Amazing. There's 2 things I want to ask you about. Okay. I want
Let's
like
go.
I want to ask you about how you got to where you're at, but there's 2 angles of it first. And so one, I guess let's start with like working for Alisha. So you went to FITM. What did you study there?
I studied digital media and digital cinema. So I got 2 degrees. The first one was an associate's in digital media. Yeah. So we kind of learned like everything and anything about post-production. So I learned like every editing software, every like graphics, 3D animation, audio engineering, like Pro Tools.
Really? Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah, Pro Tools. You would actually really like the program. Like I learned graphic design, like I learned Maya, Cinema 4D, like everything that you could possibly like edit with, I learned. Crazy. So that way, when I went into the digital cinema program, which was more my scene of producing, filming, like directing, I knew how to do those things because I knew how I was going to edit it.
Totally. And shooting the edit is so important.
Yeah. And like I was editing while I was, you know, producing, or I was editing while I was directing, which is really nice because now I'm like, okay, I can't use that take. We're going to have to redo that. Or oh yeah, in my head, like I need to put that at the end of the edit. It is so valuable to know editing before you learn how to shoot, I think.
Totally.
So that's what I studied.
You transitioned out of there. Was the first thing that you did just like starting to work in the YouTube sphere? Did you get any other job?
No, so I feel like a lot of people don't know this. During my FITM career, I guess, I was always interning and I was always working. Like I was so aggressive. Like
that's what it's all about.
Me on LinkedIn, I like went off.
Yeah.
I look at my younger self and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So one of my first internships, which is funny because it's kind of full circle, I interned for this blogger. Her name's Fashion Lane. I am Fashion Lane.
Okay, cool.
And so I started off like taking photos of her. That was my first real, like, I guess, LA internship.
Was it unpaid?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. I did so many things unpaid. Then
There's value in that. If you're trying to break into something new, work for people for free.
Oh, my God. So many things I did unpaid.
Yeah.
So I did that. And then I did, what was it? Oh, I basically was so aggressive with Whitney Port, who I just went to her live podcast. She has a podcast called With Wit, if you want to check it out.
Amazing.
She's on the Hills. Do you know who that is?
On the Hills.
She's on the Hills. Yeah, right? It's a TV show. She also is like, she has a YouTube presence, and the Hills just came back. So
really?
it used to be really big.
Yes.
And she was in fashion. She worked for Teen Vogue and stuff, and I was really into her.
That's cool.
And so when I came to LA, it was like my little Indiana girl dream to like work for someone that was on the Hills.
Yeah.
So I like hunted her down, and her office was downtown. This is when she had her company, Whitney Eve.
When you say hunted her down, how'd you go about doing that? Like if someone else is like, I want to contact someone I really want to work for.
So I knew I wanted to work for her.
Yeah.
So I still do this to people.
Yeah.
I found her on Instagram. I found her sister on Instagram. I found her website. So I found all these things. I found her email. I found her website. I found the website, email, whatever. And LinkedIn, whatever. I just like stalked her basically. And I found everything about her. And then I basically wrote the same. I mean, it's so easy. Yeah. And then I wrote the same basically message to her, like, hey, I would love to intern for your company, or I'd love to intern for you. I'll do whatever it takes, or like I would love to get an interview or whatever. I wrote up some detailed thing and I sent it to her DM, her sister's DM, her company's DM, and I also sent it to the company email, like the company, like, contact us if you have an issue with your clothing email. I went off, like basically
just be
everything.
Sure it gets in front of her eyes.
And sure enough, it did after a while. And I had to like make this little brochure thing for her and stuff. But long story short, I ended up getting it.
Amazing.
Which was awesome. Like that was such a rewarding and like cool thing for me.
Yeah.
And it showed me like, okay, if I can do that with her, I can do that with anyone.
Totally.
So then I worked at this production company called Film Pool. And there I got that connect through a family friend, and I didn't think I was going to get coffee, and I ended up talking to the guy and convincing him why I needed an internship there.
Huh. That's cool.
I'm crazy.
Yeah,
and so
I like
then,
it.
And so then I got an internship there and ended up editing a full TV show while I think I was a freshman or a sophomore in college.
Wow.
I edited a full TV show, and
for what style of TV show? Was it like reality TV? Was it a documentary?
Yeah, it was actually kind of like a game show.
Game show.
Yeah, so it was called Lord Have Mercy.
Okay.
Like, Lord have mercy. Yeah. And basically we would come up with funny, like, we would find, it's kind of like America's Funniest Home Videos. So you would find clips, or people would submit them in, of like funny things that happen in like church or religious settings. So like someone like pees their pants like during their wedding, or like stuff like that. And then like there would be like a host and like commentators, and like they would do this whole bit on like, and there would be like a live audience, and we would like talk about it. And so I edited that. Mm-hmm. And it was so cool. And I was on set, and like I got to basically be like, I was a script supervisor while I was on set.
Yeah.
And then they actually rewarded me. It was unpaid, but while I was on set, I got paid. And they were so nice. It was all men. I was the only girl.
Okay, cool.
And I was super young, and they were all, older guys. And they rewarded me with an associate producer credit.
Wow.
With the show after it was done, which was so cool.
So you could say I was associate producer on a TV show, and you're like,
and
what,
I have
19
like, it's on my
IMDb,
and it was like after and it was sold to, who was the distributor? Urban Movie Channel.
Okay.
And so like now you know what I mean? Like it was so cool. My little like Indiana like girl self or whatever was like geeking out because I just like would have never thought that happened. And so then after that happened, I mean, hours and hours and hours.
So early into your hustle too. Like you to pull something off like that.
So many hours and hours and hours in that editing bay, like just grinding like me. And I didn't even know how to edit that well.
And building those skills too. Yeah. Cause you're learning it while you do it.
And like the guys were like telling me, like the directors and the producers were like, hey, do this, Taylor, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like figuring it out as I was going.
Totally.
And
that's how everybody does it. No one knows what they're doing until they do it, you know?
Exactly. And like, it was so cool. Like they gave me a key to the office whenever I wanted to edit. I could go in there. I still like, I went to they have movies. They make movies all the time. Check them out. And I still go to their premieres. Like it's so cool. I love all of them. And a bunch of them are actually kind of from Indiana, or they have a connect.
Okay.
So we connected that way. And then after that, I worked for, I really wanted to work for Amazon.
Okay.
So
because they have like
Amazon Studios.
Yes.
So, and I in between there, I worked for like other jobs where I was like getting paid. So I worked at Planet Blue, which is a clothing store. And I actually like don't undermine those jobs, especially in LA, because like I met so many like clients there that like I follow up. For instance, I met this host of, this TV show, and I would like sell her clothes, but now like we follow each other on Instagram, and like I can hit her up whenever I need her, just like things like that. Like I learned a lot from working at Planet Blue. And then I really wanted to work for Amazon, so I kind of I like LinkedIn people and just like figured that out, and it ended up being on set with them a bunch of different times, which is super fun. And I worked for a company called Pure Play Productions, and so we were doing a bunch of things on set with them. So I'd kind of PA. I was like an executive assistant. So I learned a lot from the boss. So I was learning a lot about like budgets and, hiring people and being on set and dealing with people, which is like really what the entertainment industry is. It's dealing with people.
Yeah.
And running around and doing like minuscule tasks too, like getting coffee and dropping off things at the post office and getting their appointments and whatever.
Right.
And how to run a calendar. And then after that, before that, I worked for CBS. Okay. This is all in college, by the way.
Yeah, gnarly.
I worked for CBS, and I worked for a soap opera called The Bold and the Beautiful.
Wow.
And so I was an intern there. And then after there, I did the Amazon thing. And then after that, I went back to CBS and I like helped fill in every once in a while. And so I had just graduated and I was just filling in at CBS trying to figure out what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Thought I would work at a big studio, kind of maybe like a Warner Brothers or Paramount or Hulu or something like that.
Right.
And all of a sudden, my friend Alisha, who I had only shot photos of her, not even video. I've only shot photos of her once, which was at a Coachella.
Okay.
And basically, I'd got coffee with her, and she was like, kind of asking me if she got it out of me that like, hey, I kind of need some help. And I was like, oh, perfect. Like I just graduated. I'm trying to make some money. Like I would love to help you.
Right.
And it was kind of this mutual, like, oh, we'll just, and in my head, I'm like, okay, I'll just like come in whenever she needs me and like work at CBS, and then like I'm gonna figure out my job and like have a new job by the new year, right? Because this is like September, or actually end of September, early October.
Right. Remember the thing I told you about my 30-minute recording limit?
Yeah, it's up.
Okay,
it's we're
taking which is amazing. We can do this however freaking long we want. But in 6 seconds, we're gonna take a short break.
Okay.
And then we're gonna hear more about how you got into that with Alisha.
Okay.
Sick. Yo, this segment of the podcast is brought to you by my brand new Patreon page. I'm actually super, super, super excited to finally be sharing this with you guys. If you would like to support this podcast and my content in general, this is the absolute best way to do so. My page is set up on patreon.com/Jake Roque. That's JakeRoque, if you hadn't known so already. I'm working really hard to make this page a genuine exchange of value. And I'm setting up the reward tiers to be things that I would actually want from a lot of the creators that I watch and enjoy and would want to support. So they currently include things like a forum for this community to meet other like-minded people, an opportunity to ask guests on my podcast your own personalized questions, and you'll get a shout out every time we do that. A monthly patron-only Google Hangout where we can talk about whatever the heck we want to. It'll be exclusive just to the patrons. There's a weekend getaway to LA, so if you are contributing at a tier for a certain duration of time, we just get to hang out, and I'll bring you on a vacation in LA and we'll go do fun things here, like go to the beach and go to dinner and have a lovely time. I think that would be so sick. And the one I'm probably the most excited for is I have a couple slots open on this mentorship tier. This is something I really believe in, and I've had many mentors in the past that have given me some of the most valuable experiences and lessons of my entire life. So I'm really looking forward to this part. I can teach you all I know about podcasting, music, content creation, relationships, literally anything I can help you with. Feel free to ask in that time. And something I'd also love to do with this would be to pick a book a month to go through with everyone that's in that tier. And we could pick a book to go through together and just have a discussion of what we learn, kind of like a one-on-one book club for the people that are in that. Anyways, there's all the details for all of this over on patreon.com/Jake Roque. And if you'd like to support the podcast, if you want to hear more podcasts like this is a really, really great way to do so. So I appreciate you so much if you're considering supporting the show, and let's get back to it. Amazing. What's up? We're back.
Okay.
So you met with Alisha.
Yeah. So I met with Alisha for coffee, and I'm just thinking we're getting coffee, catching up with friends and like talking about boys and stuff.
Right.
And so then it ended up
naturally.
And then, yeah, like what do girls do? They do that. So no, I'm kidding. But we ended up meeting, and then we of course start talking about work because we're workaholics. Mm-hmm. And yeah, she was like, hey, yeah, can you come help whenever? And I was like, yeah. And in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go and help her every once in a while whenever she needs me. And then I'm going to work at CBS, and then I'm going to figure out my stuff before the new year, because this is at the beginning of October or end of September.
Right.
So anyway, she's like, perfect. So I go home to Indiana. I had a trip planned, and I come back. And, you know, the first like 2 days of me working there, I didn't even think I was going to get paid. So first 2 days, she pays me really well. And I'm like, whoa, I'm getting paid to do what I love?
Yeah.
This is wild.
There's always that like realization moment where you're like, wow, this is cool that I'm getting paid to do this.
And like, I'm getting paid. In fact, I was getting paid double from any job that I had ever gotten paid.
Hell yeah.
So I was like, okay, Alisha Marie. Mm-hmm. I was like,
yeah, we can keep this up. Yeah.
And she's so like,
which real quick,
so humble.
Can you tell me, like, for someone who doesn't know, who is Alisha? What does she do? Like, what's she about? So people know like what you're getting into right here.
Yeah. Alicia's a influencer and a creator. So she has been on YouTube for about 10 years, and she's awesome. She's massive. She does like lifestyle and fashion and beauty and challenges and all kinds of really entertaining videos.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how she got big. And then now she has a podcast called Pretty Basic with Remy Cruz. You should check it out. And they talk about all things like just everything that it's kind of just like a fun BFF podcast where you can listen to them talk and interact, and you really get a deep dive on who they are as people, because they're these internet personalities that you only see in like 7-minute videos.
Right.
So it's really cool and they do games, and they talk about boys, and they talk about work, and you know, they are boss girls.
Yeah.
You know, like
they hustle. I mean, from what I know of Alisha, she's so kind and works so hard.
I have never seen someone work so hard in my life, and I've worked for a lot of people.
Right.
And yeah, so and it's weird because when you see, like when I would watch their YouTube videos, I was like, oh, these girls, they're just like, you know, making little DIYs and whatever. Like, no, they're boss girls. Like they're on the phone with their lawyers, their banks, their accountants. Like it's wild.
Really, it's full-fledged running a business. A lot of people have employees, of course, which
on top of that, she also has merch. She also has her, you know, Instagram. Like Instagram's a full-time job for some people, and that's just one of her things. And yeah, she's just killing it.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot of fun stuff in store.
Right. And I feel like what's so rad about her too is like she does what she likes to do. She has fun. She's very successful. And then other people get to see her and get to see, oh, she does what she likes to do. She's really successful. Like she crushes it in so many different areas. Like, and you get to roll back 10 years back. She was just this kid making videos. Yeah. You know, and then like built this like business and empire of sorts. You know?
And one thing I will say about her is that makes her, I always tell her, I'm like, you're an outlier. Because, you know, we'll be working on a thumbnail or like a video, and we're like in the it seems like the 7th hour of working on it. Yeah. And she's like, no, still fix this or whatever. And I'm like, you realize you're an outlier, right? Like, this is why you're so big, because you're so dedicated and disciplined, and you're not going to stop doing it until it's right.
Not settling, not compromising.
No, not at all. And like, she's really taught me a lot about that. And it's cool because watching her work so hard on one thing and seeing, okay, that works.
Yeah.
Like, she works so hard and now she's reaping the benefits of it. And like, that's really rewarding.
I feel like you must be learning so much, like, firsthand, just being there, like, oh, that's what it's about. Yeah.
Even like till this day, but like, I remember my first days working for her, I was like a fly on the wall. Like, I was just, everything she was doing, I was like, I was like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, as they say in Indiana. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is how her day is. It's like, hopefully she's not getting mad that I'm talking about her this much. But I love her. She's like, she'll get off the phone with her manager, and then like her assistant's like, hey, we need to do this. And then I'm like, hey, we need to film this. And then she's like, and then her sister's like, hey, can you do the dishes? And then she's like all over.
Can you do your dishes?
And then,
okay.
And then her mom's calling, like, I mean, she is like doing 80 jobs at once. It's incredible. But
it's good that she has help too, right? Because when you have all that stuff going on, but you can delegate and send
I always
people
tell
to
him,
help,
like, how did you do this before I was here?
Yeah.
You know? But she's just a boss, and I look up to her. And what we quickly realized and why it works is because people are like, oh my God, you're friends and you work together. How does that work? I'm like, well, I think the Lord created Alisha and was like, okay, I really like her. I need to duplicate her. And then the Lord like made me. And
so it's easy to work with yourself. You're on the same wavelength.
So we're like pretty much always on the same wavelength. I learned a ton from her. And then another thing is that she is so humble and also so giving, and she wants me to grow, and she wants to help me. And she's always thinking about, I mean, we're always, doing stuff for her and whatever. But the fact that she takes time out of her day to ask, hey, like, what can I help you? Like, what do you want to work on? Where do you see your podcast going? Or what can I do to help whatever?
Yeah.
And like, she'll answer my questions, or I'm like, hey, I really want to work with this brand. Like, what do I say? She's like, oh my God, say this, blah, blah, blah. Or she's like, hey, Taylor, you should be doing this. You should be doing this.
Right.
And the fact that she takes
Someone
time.
that just cares about you and is like, I want to help you out as much as like,
I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, that's rare. That's like another outlier quality. Right. So anyway, so I went from working like 1 to 2 days a week to like the next week. Literally the first week was like maybe 2 days the other week. The next week was like, okay, when are you free?
Yeah.
And I was like, these 3 days. She's like, okay, can you come all these 3 days? And then basically after, I think it was 2 months of that, kind of just like whenever, I was in New York, and homegirl called me up. She's like, hey, she texted me. By the way, I hate it when people do this. She texted me, hey, can I call you? Or like, hey, can you call me? And I'm like, why?
Like, are we going to break up?
Yeah.
Like...
I was like, oh no. Like, that can't, in my head, I'm like, that can't be good, right? So I'm like kind of freaking out. I'm with my friends in New York. We're about to go out to dinner.
That's your water there too, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Need it.
We're like about to go to dinner, and I call her immediately because I'm like, what is it? Like, do you need me to edit? Like, did I edit something wrong? Like, whatever.
Right.
And she's like, hey, so I know this is kind of weird timing, but I was just wondering if I could offer you a full-time position. Like, here's how much it is. Here's what you're going to be doing. Here are the rules. I already have a contract. Like, let me know. And I was like, what? I was like so floored. And I was with some of my other YouTuber friends who are smaller. So like, they were so excited for me, and it was such a fun moment. And like,
right. Because Alisha, for a lot of people that are like doing YouTube, like Alisha is like the OG. She's like
big time.
Yeah, big time. Big time.
She's big time. So it was really, I mean, it was so weird because like my job, it felt like it was created for me. Yeah. And like you said earlier, totally. you're in so many different things. Like, you like to produce, you like to be in front of the camera, you like to be behind the camera, like you like to edit, whatever. And like, I always thought, people always told me you need to pick one thing. Like I had a director or a professor, they told me, they're like, Taylor, you can never be in front of the camera and behind the camera. You have to choose one. Yeah. You'll never be in front of the camera. Like, she was like, get over it. Like, you'll never be able to do that. And like in that moment when like, it was so rewarding when Alisha was like, yeah, like I was like, holy cow, I can do all of the things I love and get paid for it. Right. Like, and learn more and get better at it. So I talked to my parents, and, cause like growing up, they had understood what I was doing more, but they were like, wait, what? Like, she's going to pay you like that much? And like, you're going to do that, and like that's just going to be your job.
A lot of parents too, they don't. Yes,
like,
they
you're
don't
not
realize.
A lawyer?
Yeah.
Wait, you're not a doctor?
Right. They don't realize the opportunity that's in this new age of like business and media and that sort of stuff, right? And when people come and they look, they're like, oh, like a kid just won $3 million, 16 years old, playing Fortnite.
Oh yeah.
The Fortnite World
Esports is like the new sports. Yeah.
And it's like, people, 5 years ago, like, stop wasting all your time playing video games, which if you're not, you gotta be realistic. If you're not gonna like compete and make good money, there's maybe an element of truth to that at the same time. But it's like,
it's funny.
The previous generation doesn't understand. Like, no, this stuff's like being good at Fortnite is like being good at basketball.
Yeah.
Like you can make a career out of it.
You can sometimes make more money.
Oh,
like Tfue and all of that, and Ninja, and like those are the
some of these
guys.
kids are making like $25 million a year.
Yeah.
Yes, $20 million. $1 million a year, right? That's not. And LeBron's making what, like $33 million a year to play for the Lakers?
I don't know.
Something like that.
It's wild.
It's somewhere
and
around
LeBron
there.
now has a production company. He's all about the entertainment world.
Yeah. I'm so seeing Space Jam 2, right, when it comes out.
Yeah. But he's like, it was actually really cool because I feel like now I still have to explain my job and what I do all the time.
Totally.
But because I'm
you
essentially...
also do so many different things. It's sort of a list of things.
I always have to explain, but like having that moment where some stuff just didn't have to be explained, and my dad and my mom were like, whoa, Alisha Marie, legit. Like, they were like, they have the utmost respect for her. I mean, all the time they're like, I'm telling them stuff like, hey, we're doing, like, the amount of like opportunities of meeting people and events and the rooms I'm in and the traveling and stuff is just like priceless to me.
Totally.
And my parents are like always like, you're doing what now? Like it's so cool that they're like,
your job
finally
is
think
stuff
it's cool.
You like. Yeah.
Totally. Because they're like,
rad.
where are we sending our daughter off to fashion school? Like, oh my God, what is she gonna do? Like, she's gonna be like drawing little skirts and like, I mean, you just never know. Like, they don't know. Like, my dad is in the medical field. I mean, my mom's she's in advertising and stuff, but like, it's scary sending your kid off.
Especially in a new industry, it's like, is this a fad, right?
Yeah.
Because when YouTube started and people started making money, people are like, okay, is that a fad? And now more people are watching YouTube than TV.
Yeah, and
right?
like all my brother and his friends are like, oh my God, Taylor's so weird. She's always storying. Like, stop. And now they're like, please, can you shout me out?
That's real.
Can
That's
you please
super
post
real.
me?
It's not cool till it's cool. It's not like when you start a YouTube channel and you're posting videos. And even if they're good videos, you have like 50 subscribers, people are going to look at it differently than when you have 50,000 subscribers. They're like, oh, now it's cool. It's like, oh, now you think it's cool. Yeah.
People are like, oh my God, you've changed. I'm like, no,
I'm the exact same. Y'all changed.
I'm like, you just think I'm cool now.
Yeah.
Like, you just pay attention to what I'm doing now, and you just see that I have followers.
But what's cool too at the same time is if you are true to yourself and you are true to doing the same thing, like, and you're posting on the internet's more or less like pretty permanent, you know what I mean? So it's like it's there, someone's like, oh, you changed. It's like, did I? Because what I'm saying now, here's me 4 years ago, I'm saying the same thing. Like, what changed? You tell me. Yeah,
it's so cool. And actually, Kenzie's been one of my she's been a rock through all this. And I had a conversation with her a while ago when I was going through something rough, and she was like, Taylor, out of all the people, like, you have been wanting and doing this for so long. Like, I know you before anyone followed you, before you cared about any of this. And like, seeing you, she's just such a good friend, and I wouldn't be where I am now without her. But it's so rewarding when someone says something like that, because I'm like, thank God. Like, I'm sure all this stuff will get to me at some point, but she keeps me grounded.
Yeah. Kenzie's good for that. I feel like I remember when I met Kenzie, she had like maybe less than like 20,000 subscribers.
Really?
I've known Kenzie. We don't like hang out all the time, but I've known Kenzie which is crazy, probably the past like 5 to 6 years. Yeah, and we met like one of the early VidCons, and I showed up. This is when I started a channel like a couple months before. Someone told me what VidCon was, and I was like, oh my gosh, I should go.
I went to my first one this year.
No way.
Yeah.
I didn't go this year. But I remember like back then, like showing up to that, I didn't know anyone.
That's crazy.
I just walked in and like saw a couple kids and we're just like, what's up? How's it going? And like one of their friends was Kenzie, and
funny.
she's like one of the only people, one of the only people like stayed in contact with since then. But she's always like, I feel like she's someone who's been like, her tune's been the same the whole time. You know,
she is one of the most grounded and also humble. Both her and Alisha are both grounded and humble creators ever. And honestly, like most of my friends that creators, like I wouldn't surround myself with them if they weren't like that.
And I might be biased in some element, but I feel like a good amount, if not the majority, you know, of people that are creators and successful and whatever their lane is, especially in this new like social media world, they're pretty grounded. Yeah. You know, because not much changes.
Pretty real.
Right. When you're like, as far as this show goes, for instance, probably not much is going to change ever. We'll sit down and a studio type thing with a couple mics, you sit down and talk. Yeah. There's not, you know, thousands of people watching, you know, for the most part, like things stay, for Alisha even, she's probably like, for a good amount of the time, setting up her camera, like doing something cool at home. And like, that's what the show is, you know, and it stays pretty much the same. So you don't have to like change that much as you go through it.
Exactly. Yeah. Even seeing like being with her and out in public, and you know, we see people all the time that come up and notice her and you know are like freaking out, and like me just saying like us film our videos, which like we put a lot of time and effort and work into, but it's like funny seeing like how idolized someone is when they're just a real person,
and they're just like, yo, I'm just like you. And in fact, and what something that gets me too is like, in having seen similar things like that, like for these people to realize, yo, like even when people really idolize somebody talent level, a lot of times like the people that are obsessed with them are at like 85% of their skill, you know, they're like not that much better a lot of times, you know, and it's like, but there's something about just seeing somebody like succeed in everything that makes you like
so true
think that they're so sick, you know, which they are sick. But yeah.
It's weird.
Interesting. So anyway, so you love working for Alisha.
Oh my God.
Things are good.
She's awesome.
It's a great job.
We've got some really exciting things coming up.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm excited. I've listened to her podcast a little bit. Of course, I listen to your podcast a bit. And so, yeah, it's really cool. I haven't watched all her videos because like, you know, they're not.
They're not really your vibe.
They're not exactly
we may
what
need
I watch
a guy
on
in a video soon. So maybe we'll hit you up.
Yeah, we can talk about dude stuff. What is something that you feel like, if there's like one thing that Alisha's taught you that you're like, dang, I like, or that's really good, or like since applying it to your life, even maybe taught you or you've observed from her, like what would that be that you're like, yo, that thing is a good thing to do from here on out?
I would say, I'm going to say two things. The first thing would be what I already said about the being ridiculous about how perfect it needs to be. Because like, you know, if you're not putting something out there that you're proud of and you want to watch a gazillion times, then no one else is going to want to watch it. Yeah. And so many times I'm like, oh, who cares? Just get it up. And people say that all the time. Like, I feel like Gary even says, oh, just get it. Who cares if the audio is bad? Just get it up. Yeah. And Alicia's like, no, it needs to be perfect. We're going to redo it. We're going to get it till it's right. And until I love it, until we can watch it a gazillion times and we're laughing our butts off at the screen.
I love that. That's cool.
And that's one thing that, I mean, she is, what's the word? It's relentless. She'll do anything to get it right and get it perfect. And, you know, it'll be the last hour and she's like, no, let's still add this graphic or whatever. And like, I'm checked out and like, she's pushing me to finish it.
You're like, we did it. Are you pretty familiar with Mr. Beast? I feel like probably. No. Okay, you never heard of Mr. Beast?
Oh my God, I love new people.
This is so exciting. So for me, like Mr. Beast, he's probably like the biggest growing channel in the past year or so on YouTube.
Wait, yes, I've heard of him.
He does all the like.
Yes, I've heard of him.
He does these crazy videos, and it's interesting too because there's two philosophies, right? There's the Gary Vee, he posts a video a day, just like hustles, is like authentic, doesn't worry about the details, blah blah. And I think there's like validity to that. Yeah. I also think there's the other side, like the way you talk about Alisha, the way I've seen like Mr. Beast go about his stuff. He is. Like, he does the most extreme stuff. He'll make videos, and if it's not super sick, he doesn't post it. He scratches it. He'll spend like 10 grand on a video and then not post it.
Really?
Because he's like, we are only putting up the best stuff. And so his videos are so fascinating. Each one is going to get like 15 million views when they post it, which is insane. Wow. But he'll only post a video once a week, once every other week.
So how do you know that?
That he scraps his videos. Yeah. I think he's. I saw him talk about it on his Twitter.
Okay, will you send me like anything?
Yeah,
he's
done. Oh gosh, he's done like. He's
heard
done the
about.
sickest stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need to creep on him.
Yeah. I would just,
Where's
if you
he
don't
live?
know who
Where's he
Mr.
from?
Beast is, he's like from somewhere in the Midwest, and he just is like
He is?
authentic and like sticks with
See,
it.
I'm like so big on where people are from.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Like I
Yeah.
have to know.
Yeah,
It like
he's-
makes sense to me.
He like has this core group of dudes that are like his buddies that he just makes videos with, and they're not like, it's not about like, you know, finding really good looking guys or
Alicia
cool
showed me
guys or whatever it
him.
is. Yeah. He's just like this dude, and all those buddies have become like characters in his, you know, types
yeah,
of videos.
don't they they do like a crazy extreme, like they'll travel somewhere, they'll like he'll put like a ton of money into a video, right?
Yes.
Okay.
There's some videos where he just like will give away 10 grand in a
Yeah.
video. Yeah, he'll go. There's one that they did money wise. I can't believe I can't think of more of his videos, but like one he like smashed his friend's car
Yeah.
with like a boulder and then like bought him a new car, you
Yeah.
know? And some they've like gone and just tipped a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Like for water. They order water and then like tip them like $1,000 or whatever. And they're
Gotcha.
like, what is going on? You know, they do kind of like crazy stuff. And a lot of it is just like really nice. He's like, he's like,
Yeah.
I'm successful right now. Like, what are nice things I can do for people
Yeah.
that people would enjoy watching?
Wow.
And
I
it's
need to
like-
watch him more.
Yeah, really cool. And then
Please send me
sometimes
your
it's just
faves.
funny and they like put like 10,000
entertainment.
Orbeez in someone's backyard or something, you know? Like,
Yeah, which is
or
entertaining.
$1 million or whatever it is. Yeah. So
And then
that's cool.
I have to say the second thing before I
Yes.
forget it. So the second thing that I've learned from Alisha is, and among many other things, let me just tell you, but the second thing is that, and I just heard this on a pod on, I think, no, it was Tanya Rad talking about it on, about what Chelsea Handler had told her. I know that's like 80 million people I just said. It's Chelsea Handler's quote.
Okay.
And it's this: everyone in this industry can make it. There's room for everyone. And I think that's something that I've never even really told Alisha that quote because I just heard it, but she encompasses that quote and lives by it so well. I mean, watching how big she is and like the fact that she like still to this day, even when she'll look at me and she's like, Taylor, why haven't you reached out to this company? You would be perfect for them. Like blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I'm at work. You're paying me to be here and you're talking about how I can get better.
Right. What's thinking about you.
And like not
while
even
she's
just
saying
me,
it.
like, yeah, we're close and yeah, you know, I'm basically like her and her sister's little sister. Like they've taken me in and helped me with so many things. But like the fact that she goes out of her way to help basically anyone that comes in our path. And she's like, okay, how can I help you? And she takes time out of her day to help them grow or help them get better or really use her resources. She's always connecting people like, oh, I know like my agent can hook you up with blah, 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 like who's way smaller. And like, I mean, she like not
Being
everyone
a good
does
person
that.
is it not only is it like worthwhile and meaningful, but also it's like a good business move.
And I hope,
yeah.
yes. And we always talk about how people that are smaller than you will be bigger than you one day.
Yeah.
And you got to treat them right because you never know.
Right.
And she's just so,
And
I
it's
think
just,
that's so cool. And
You're
this
happier
is so much
that way. You
Yes,
know, like you're
yes.
happier just like helping people and like, because why not? If you can, you know, if someone comes to me and I help them out, it's like, yeah, of course.
Totally.
Like, yeah.
And I think it just says so much about her character that one, she doesn't have time and she makes time to help people. And then two, just that she's not jealous or nervous about, you know, them outdoing her or beating her or whatever the case may be. Cause I think especially girls, like we get so wrapped up in jealousy and competitiveness and like, this is their living, you know, this is how they're making money and like views and stuff that matters. But at the same time, like her, like I know to her, like relationships and like helping others and like helping people get to where they want to be is a passion of hers. And that's something I really admire. And I hope I can be like that one day too.
Yeah, that's rad. Amazing. I dig that. In fact, there's a lot of really good stuff there.
Yeah.
Part 2 of this long bit of information here is so, I think that's cool with you. Everything you've learned from Alisha. TK's Juicy Pod.
Yeah.
With how'd you come up with the idea? One, where did this idea come to you? Explain the podcast.
Okay.
And then say how you came up with the idea.
Okay. So the podcast is called TK's Juicy Pod because TK is my nickname. My real name's Taylor King. And so TK's, and it's juicy because it is juicy. We talk about fun,
juicy.
like relationship.
It's objectively juicy.
Yeah. We talk about fun, like relationship stuff that sometimes everyone wants to talk about, but doesn't really. So And it's the most fun thing about my podcast is that it's heavily correlated with my polls. So I started, which are Instagram polls on Instagram stories. So what that is, for those of you that don't know, is like on Instagram, they have a feature where you can post a little question and you can ask like, what's your favorite color? Or what color do you like better, blue or green? And then people can vote. And then I can see what everyone votes. So it'll be like, oh my God, 80% said blue and 20% said green. That's wild, you know?
Yeah.
So the reason why I started the polls is because I started posting polls randomly for fun when I was bored on a winter break and I was back home in Indiana for college and there's nothing to do there. So I started posting polls. I started doing like little ones about food, sports. I began with just food ones and I do like 20 of them. And then I do just sports ones and I do 20 of those. And then I started doing relationship ones, like, you know, who should pay on the first date, the guy or the girl? And I started really getting, the reason why I still do polls to this day, the reason why this started is because guys I had crushes on or I thought were hot or like I was interested in started voting and I could see what they voted.
Yeah.
Like it was so cool seeing what like info. Bobby Joe, who like I had a crush on, was voting that the guy needs to pay or that the girl needs to pay. And I was like, whoa, Bobby Joe, this is tea. This is the stuff I need to know. This is data, you know?
That's
I need to start, you know, highlighting these, you know, because I was really interested. So then I started doing even juicier ones like, hey, if you go on a date and you hook up and they don't text you the next morning, what does that mean? Like, is that good or no? Or like even texting etiquette or like what if they send a winky face, does that mean you're in the friend zone or out of the friend zone? Like stuff like that, where it's just like little fun, juicy.
It's interesting to see like what the general population thinks. Because sometimes I know we even the first time, our first episode of the podcast, go listen to
our
it.
Podcast.
Yeah, it was super fun. Episode 18, I think. I
don't know. You would probably know better than me.
I just saw it. I think it was episode 18. You can listen to it in a lot of different places.
Yeah.
But ours are pretty juicy. I feel like
yours are so good.
They were fun. The first round was intense.
I'm not just saying this, but like yours was one of my favorite episodes.
Oh, thank you. That was fun. I had a good time. That's like half. You know, that's why you're the first guest on my podcast. You brought me on your podcast, and I was like, "Yo, this is fun.
It was so
this
fun.
works. We should do it again." You know.
Yeah.
But I loved seeing
the results.
Yeah, I love seeing what the majority of people were saying a lot of things because I found in that one time. I found oftentimes I was in the minority of a lot of things, which is interesting.
It's weird.
And there were times where I was surprised where it's like, oh, okay, most people do think the way I think.
Yeah.
Like I didn't think so, but that makes sense, you know?
Especially with like just us being on the internet and like just like our whole generation of like dating and just like living life is so different now. So it's so interesting to see like what everyone's perspective is. And I have followers like all in Indiana and I have a bunch in LA and like even seeing that difference,
right?
You know,
right. Yeah.
That's like a huge difference. So it's really fun. That's why I started and continued because all these like cute guys were voting and I was like, okay, like let's see what, you know,
insider info.
Let's see if they're on their phone. Let me pose a poll, you know, stuff like that. So it started off me being just like the crazy girl that I am. And then eventually people were like, all my, like, I kind of had some influencer creator friends, people like even Alisha, I don't even know if she knows this, but I remember I saw her at the bungalow in Santa Monica and she was like, Taylor, you need to really do something with these polls. Yeah. She said that to me and I was like tipsy and I was like, okay. Like I like noted that, you know, and like people like Kenzie, she's like, Taylor, you really got to do something.
People want more out of this.
And even my mom, she's in advertising. She's like, Taylor, I can use all this data like to target my ads. You know, she was like, this is really valuable.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And like actually data just surpassed oil in how valuable it is.
Interesting. Oh, like the industry, the size of the industry.
Like,
totally.
like people knowing like where we swipe our cards, people knowing where
data is everything.
You know,
your
like
Amazon, Alexa, Facebook,
everything.
Instagram, YouTube, it's all Google. It's all
There's actually a documentary
about
it. My friend just told me about it. But
does that freak you out at all?
No.
It
I
doesn't.
don't care.
It doesn't freak me out too much. And I think it's interesting because I think, again, the older generation, that like people are going to know that Amazon knows my address It's like, yeah, I saw this article recently. Amazon workers know where you live. And it's like, duh, I hope so. They're sending stuff to my house.
I'm like, yeah, if they want to hang out, just let me know.
Right. Yeah, it's like
it's not that deep, fam.
Right. And that's the thing too of like, I think there's a level of privacy that is, nice to be able to keep, I guess. But like as far as having, like I have an Alexa and people are like, she listens to everything you say after you say Alexa. And like she knows everything you ask her, and I'm like, but yeah.
I'm like, cool. I'm nostalgic. I like to hear that stuff. Right, like I don't care. Like I honestly, like they can do whatever they want. Like keep targeting ads. Like I'm getting cute clothes out of it.
Right. Right. And I'd rather see ads that are relevant to me than just like stuff that's like, total trash.
Whatever. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that doesn't bother me. That's actually a good poll question.
Ooh, does that
bother you?
Yeah,
does that freak you out?
Yeah.
That's such an older generation thing. But yeah, I started the podcast because
like my dad won't I remember my dad wouldn't get an iPhone for a long time because he's like,
really?
Siri listens to you. And I'm like, she does. Like, I was never even like, no, she doesn't. I'm like, of course she does.
Yeah,
like,
you're like, we're
like
friends.
The government's listening to you out of your phone. It's like, I probably too. Probably, in fact, there's like, have been cases that they've proven that, but it's like also like, so some dude working for the government knows that like I went to the gym today,
exactly.
Like, who
I don't
cares?
have time and energy to like not use the resources that we have. So
right.
Whatever.
Oh my gosh. Okay. We have again 6 more seconds till our next commercial break, and then we're going to hear more about that.
Woo.
Yo, this ad is going to be super short because this segment is brought to you by me. If you're enjoying this podcast, all I want to ask of you is that you rate and review on whatever platform you happen to be listening to, or just freaking smash that like button if you're watching on YouTube. I see you. I'm watching you. These things help out a lot, and if you've been getting any value from these discussions, I would really, really appreciate it. A lot of work goes into making these special, so yeah, a little bit in this area would go a long way if you're enjoying the podcast. And also feel free to subscribe on whatever platform you're on to be notified every time a new episode goes live. That's it. You're great. Thanks for listening. Are you someone who just doesn't have time to frequently make trips to the grocery store and prepare 3 healthy meals every day that taste good and are good for you? That difficult combo that we're always looking for. Well, welcome to the club. You're basically one of all of us. Catered Fit is this really epic meal prepping service that delivers fresh made meals to your door daily or as frequently as you would like. They have standard paleo and vegetarian options, and their website and app is super easy to use. A few of the delicious meals that they have on the menu for this week specifically include the Farmer's Market omelet with veggies, the spicy chipotle shrimp with kale salad. That sounds super good. And the garlic herb crusted pork loin with apricot glaze and butternut squash pilaf. Guys, there's so many different options. Those are some of the ones I saw that I was like, yo, those look tasty. Every listener of the show gets $25 off their first meal plan with the promo code TJRS, which stands for the Jake Roque Show, if you were wondering. Depending on the plan you get, meals are as low as $7 to $8 each. And one thing I really like about the packaging too is it comes with a printed out label of the macronutrient breakdown. So how many grams of carbs, fats, and proteins are in there. So if you're somebody who likes to track those things, super helpful for that. And right now, the service areas include major cities across California and Florida, I think almost exclusively. So if you're in California and Florida, you're definitely covered if you're one of those major cities like LA, San Diego, Miami, Orlando. If you want to see if your town is included in the service areas, go to cateredfit.com. If you're someone who's like overspending on unhealthy food at work, or if you just don't have the time to go and set aside those couple hours it takes every day to make the healthy meals that are good for your body and for your taste buds, I highly recommend Catered Fit. I've had their meals. I really like them. I actually think it's a really competitive price in the meal planning sector of the market. So head over to cateredfit.com and use the promo code TJRS for $25 off your first order, and take a peek at the FAQ tab on their website for any more info. Okay, we are back. Taylor,
back
so your podcast, part 2 of that.
Yeah. So basically, long story short, it just took so long explaining that.
Yeah. So where did you get the idea? When were you like, oh, I need to make a show out of this?
So I posted, I knew I wanted to make a podcast. I already had these polls going, and I was like, oh my God, boom, let's put them together. So I knew I wanted to have a guest. So every time I have a guest on, which is almost every time, we'll use you as an example. So I knew Jake was coming on the pod. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's morning routine is wild. I was like, also, like, I feel like he's kind of juicy. Like, he's a straight guy in LA. I want to know about like what he thinks
straight
about girls.
Straight guy in LA. I love how you always like clarify that.
Well, I mean, like, literally, you're like a unicorn.
Yeah.
You know? Or maybe I'm not. I need to stop blaming the city. I'm not hanging. I
do know a lot of straight guys.
I'm not hanging out in the right spaces.
Less of them are in the fashion. Industry.
I'm just not in the right spots.
Ratio wise.
So like Jake came on my pod and I was like, Jake, I want to talk about these few things. I want you to come up with poll questions and I can help you, or you can come up with them yourself. And I'm going to post them on my Instagram story. People are going to vote and then we're going to talk about them.
Yeah.
So it's really fun because when we come up with questions, then we debate over what we would vote. And then we're like, whoa, like.
And sometimes you like hear a good reason for like, okay, I thought this, but that's a good point for like the other side. Yeah.
And it's cool because it gets me talking about all different types of things.
Right.
And it's really fun also because when like something, is going on in the world or is really popular, I can throw up some polls about it. And it's fun for people to vote.
Yeah.
People love going through my story.
And then when you click on it,
voting.
you get to see what at least however many people voted at this stage. You get to see what everybody else thought, which
and
is
it's
fun
so
too.
fun. Like for me, I love that my followers are so engaged.
What's your Instagram so people can go vote?
Oh, it's at TK's Juicy Polls.
TK's Juicy Polls.
But I love that people can, they feel like they're a part of it. Like the podcast literally wouldn't exist if it weren't for them. So they get to vote and then they get to listen and be like, oh my God, I can't believe Taylor voted that. Or I can't believe Jake voted that. And it's way more fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how it works.
Epic. That's so cool. And so what have you learned? So this is selfish time.
Okay.
Now I want info out of you.
Okay. Please.
As far as starting a new podcast, right?
Uh-huh.
What things, well, one, so you're telling me a little bit, you distribute on Anchor. So this now this section is like, if someone's like, yo, one day I would love to start a podcast and like, what should I do? Cause I have no idea where to go, where to start, which was me. Right. And probably a lot of people too, right? Cause we're in an interesting time in the world where you can make a podcast about whatever the frick you want to make a podcast about, a YouTube show about, an Instagram blog about, a blog about.
Yeah.
You can pretty much run it with anything. And if you do it well and there's enough people interested in the same thing, you can turn it into your job, right? So if somebody goes from, somebody wants to start a podcast about like fantasy football is a really interesting one. Very, very big industry. One of the top podcasts in the world. Yeah, fantasy football. There's a fantasy football podcast that actually one of my friends, I just found this out, my friend's brother hosts it.
Sick. Wait, I want them on my podcast.
Oh,
Give me that contact.
That would be cool. Yeah. They, fantasy football where it's just like guys, and it's something interesting too where guys are super competitive when you play fantasy football and they're like, or girls, that are playing fantasy football too, right? But also too, it's like, you need the information to get it to know who to draft. And a lot of people aren't watching every single NFL game. Yeah. And so there's these people going and doing the work for you, compiling the evidence.
Oh my gosh,
and it's
I love.
Interesting. And then you like get the info to like go beat your friends at fantasy football.
That's great because I love the NFL, but I don't have time to watch every game. So that may be a great pod for me to listen to.
Yeah. Especially if you're competing in a fantasy league.
Yeah.
I'm
going to have to get on that.
And there's a lot of different things like that, whether it's people talking about business.
Very specialized.
Yeah. Things that like you can talk about whatever you want. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I don't have to go. And the same thing goes for YouTube, all these platforms. It's like, I don't have to go to my job that I don't like anymore. Instead, I can do things that I actually like doing, talk about things I actually enjoy discussing and make a career out of it, right? So for anyone that's like, yo, I don't like my job, or maybe I do like my job and I want to start a podcast, a YouTube show, like I feel like a lot of these things will apply. So one, a concrete thing that would be helpful for me is distribution. You chose to distribute on Anchor.
Yes.
What does that look like? I know you run ads there.
Yeah.
Like, tell me a little bit about that.
So I found Anchor through Casey Neistat.
Okay.
Who's a really big YouTuber I'm obsessed with. He just moved to LA.
Yeah, I'm so
Big
pumped.
time.
I hope it like gives another influx of like
I think it will.
That New York crew to LA, because there's so many cool creators in New York that's
Agreed.
like want to have on the podcast, I want to have whatever, and I love going to New York too.
Yeah.
But it would just be great if they were just here.
I should do a poll. Like, do you think Casey Neistat's gonna like start the wave of new creators moving to
I would
LA?
love that. What's fascinating is he started 368 like a year before he moved, a year and a half before he moved, and now he's here.
So I'm like, where's the 368 gonna be?
It's
in
gonna
downtown
be
LA.
Here. Yeah, exactly. There has to be a 368 LA that starts.
By the way, Casey, I would love to work at 368. Don't tell Alisha.
Yeah, dude, like, to be in that crew. Even, and I think that one of the best things too, and something that I really want to work on in LA is like building a community of creators that are, I want to find people that are like smaller, right? Because it's interesting too for both of us probably. I know a lot of it because for those that don't know too, part of my contribution to the YouTube world is working for a lot of like YouTubers and vloggers and making videos for them, recording music for them, whatever it is. And so I'm very well connected with them, but I
feel like you're kind of like the guy version of me.
Yeah.
Kinda.
Yeah. And it's professionally, like we both had really similar starts. We worked with a lot of, I feel like our YouTube circles don't overlap, but like two of like the very big sectors of YouTube, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so like, but so with that, we know all these people, but it's kind of in a position where like, so we're in similar places along, maybe even just like numbers wise. And to be like the truth of it is like, if I have 20,000 subscribers, I can't go to somebody with 2 million subscribers. Maybe people do collaborations like that. And if you have something valuable to offer, it's worthwhile, you know, but you don't want to like feel like you're not contributing to something. So I won't
Absolutely.
reach out for collaboration unless I feel like there's mutual value added.
Exactly.
And if there's not, then I don't want to waste somebody's time. You know, I don't like want to ask for favors. But what that leaves me with is I have 20,000 subscribers and everybody that I know has so many. And it's like, okay, so where is that like mid-tier level of people that like you get to come up with? Because a lot of people have those crews and they kind of come up together, right? They kind of like, they all,
do.
You know,
People
everybody's got like 20, 30, 40. Yeah. And they come up together and you stay motivated. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of crews that have like built their thing together. So something I really want to focus on now is not only finding that for myself, but like creating a place where people can find that with other people.
Okay, and how do we find other people like us?
Well, yeah. So here, so you just saw like we have the studio here. I live with a couple friends, and we have the backyard. I want to start having events here where it's just like, yo, and it's an interesting thing because obviously like I don't want it to open my house to anyone in the world, right?
Yeah.
Because that's weird, and I don't want to like post my address all over the internet kind of thing. But also I want it to be like really inclusive. I don't want it to be like, I want people that are like passionate and talented. I want to be included. I don't want it to be like a numbers thing at the same time.
Maybe it can be like you invite like 20 people that you are like, or you respect or whatever, and be like, hey, you have to bring one friend that you think's like cool or whatever. And, you know what I mean? Like you have to bring, it's kind of like, you know, those couple parties where it's like you have to bring like someone it didn't work out with, but you think's awesome.
Okay.
Or whatever. Yeah. Like it's like that.
Interesting.
But
I've never heard of that. Yeah, so totally. So I think having, I want to, and whether it's maybe at this house or even if we have like meet up somewhere, I think like Yes Theory kind of does this well. They build a cool community. It's not necessarily dedicated
to
at
like Venice Beach and stuff.
Yeah, they do meetups, and it's not just for people that are like looking to be in the industry or whatever it is, but yeah, I just want like like-minded people to get together and have community.
I love that.
That's something we're working on.
Well,
so
hit me
you
up
can
when
totally
you need
be
help.
a part of helping figure out what it'll look like and making it awesome.
Yeah, I would love that. Also, I just have to say, by the way, like big creators, do not sleep on small creators. Mm-hmm. They can be very valuable to you.
Absolutely. Even especially with like when I see someone, I'll collaborate with someone with no subscribers if they're like sick at something, you know, like of course. And it's the same thing. Like sometimes in a lot of my collaborations too, actually that have been more like have gotten me more subscribers and that sort of thing, like the bigger sort of collaborations, a lot of times it's coming to someone saying like, hey, you're making this content. This is just like the collab tip. It's like, hey, if someone's like spending money on their content and you can do it for free for them, then they're like, cool. You know, that's the value you add.
Exactly.
If they're like spending a bunch of time on it and you can make their 20 hours per video take 2 hours and you'll do the other 18 hours for them, they're going to be like, yeah, that works.
Yeah.
You know,
there's so many things.
So yeah. Anyways, little tangent.
No, I love
Anchor,
it. That was so good.
Distribution. Tell me a little more about that.
Okay, so I found him through Casey. Casey uses him for his podcast. Casey, please make more podcast episodes with you and Candace. I really love them. Anyway, it's awesome. It's kind of like the hub for, I guess, individual podcasters who like aren't already big and have like a huge network and producer like team and stuff. So it's really cool. It's like the catalyst of getting like your creative content out into the world. Yeah. And like there's so many distribution like it's not like, oh, you just get it on Spotify. What's cool about Anchor is that you upload the link to your podcast and then they'll distribute it to every person. So it's like they'll distribute it to
SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts,
Stitcher, Google Podcasts, like everything that people listen to that exist. I mean, my podcast literally goes out to probably like 12 or 13 different places.
Amazing.
That I don't even know. Yeah. But Anchor handles it all. This isn't an ad, even though it could be, It
could be an ad.
Anchor, hit Jake up.
Sponsor this eventually.
But basically, it's so awesome. It's free too, which is wild. And if you if you aren't techie like you can also record the actual podcast on Anchor and edit it on Anchor and all of that stuff. So it's really cool. And then I also use it for my ads right now because I don't have a manager or a producer or someone who's like constantly reaching out to try and pitch me to people. So they'll just send me emails like, hey, Spotify wants to sponsor your podcast. They're going to do, we'll get into the nitty gritty. I'll say the details. I'm not afraid to. So they'll be like, well, Spotify wants to pay $20 per 1,000 listens or per 100 listens, which or whatever it is.
Compared to YouTube, right?
I think so.
YouTube CPMs are usually like, in my experience at least, they're usually like $2 to $3 like for every 1,000. So if you get a deal, that's 20,000.
So $20 for. So I think one of mine is $20 for
at
per
least
1,000.
I mean like those pre-roll ads, not the legit sponsorships that I've dealt with.
For the per episode. So that's one way you could do it. Another way that I would love to get into and I haven't already is like, one random company, like let's say it was Google, wanted to sponsor your podcast. You would do like a whole segment and then they would just give you a flat rate of, let's say it was like $10,000.
Right.
And then
let's hope so.
Yeah,
Next
you know what I
podcast,
mean?
Google.
Or like, or $100.
Right.
And then it goes up and that's it. But with the cool thing for me, it's motivating because like it makes me want to promote my podcast even more because the more listens, the more money I make.
Right.
And it's cool to like see the little thing go up and whatever. And
that's what it's all about.
I actually can't even believe that I make money off of it because I'm just like, this is so fun and I love doing this and like this is what I want to do every day.
Right.
So it's really cool. I could not recommend Anchor enough. Like my brother just started or he's starting a podcast and he uses it.
How old is your brother?
He is a sophomore. He's going to be a sophomore in college. He's 20. So I don't know. We'll see if he actually does it. But his is going to be cool. It's going to be fratty. It's going to be
that's
fun.
funny.
And,
yeah.
Isn't that so fun?
I feel like frat podcasts could like have
like if I were on
niche.
Campus and a girl, I would listen to that every like day.
Yeah.
Because I'd be like, what are they talking about? Like
that's so funny.
Right?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to make him listen to this so that he gets it on
I
it.
feel like those like younger college kids would be like like
thriving
all over that. Yeah. That's great. That's good. So you recommend Anchor. What would you say like so here's another separate question. How do you go about getting your guests?
Okay, good question. First of all, I feel like I am
thinking of the ideas and actually getting them on.
Yeah, I feel like I'm so lucky and blessed to have like such cool friends. So, and like friends of friends. And luckily in LA, everyone's already like, oh, like you should be on my video. You should be on my podcast. Like the cool thing about podcast is that most of the time people say yes because they want the free promo and people love to talk about themselves.
Totally.
So it's like,
and it's fun,
and it's fun and it's cool because like I get to meet so many people. This is why I personally love having a guest on every episode because it allows me, I love meeting new people and I have a full blown hour with them.
Yeah.
Like this isn't a 15-minute coffee date. Like I'm interviewing them. So anything I'm actually interested
it's an excuse
about,
to like have a friend, like make a friend too,
It's an
like,
excuse
let's
to have
hang
a friend
out.
and make a friend. And it's also an excuse to, I'm like making a friend. I'm making money.
Right.
And I'm like getting better at just talking. You know what I mean?
It's like the double benefits of like, I'm having fun
like,
and this is productive.
What? Like, why is everyone not doing this? So,
Make a podcast.
And so one is my friends and like friends of friends. And like, honestly, all the time I like I'm thinking about, okay, who am I curious about? Who am I in my life? Like, who am I looking up to? Who do I think's cool? Like, who do I actually think's cool? Or like, who do I... Because if I don't think they're interesting, then no one else will. So
Totally.
I think about my actual orbit and like who's in my life. So those people, I'm always like, those are always my safeties kind of. And then for people that I don't know and I always try and get on, Instagram DMs.
Yeah.
All the time.
Totally.
And also...
we've talked about this before, but I'm a big Instagram DMs guy.
Oh, all the time. Like for instance, here's a perfect example. My friend Lee Tall, I got her on my podcast because I found her through this really big blogger who's her sister named Sivan Ayla. Go check her out. She's so cool and she has a baby and it's like the cutest thing ever. Anyway, she has a little sister named Lee Tall and I was like, oh my God, Lee Tall's so cute. And I had been following Lee Tall for a while. And, you know, she was growing her following. She's getting bigger and bigger and I loved watching her and following her. And she posted on her Instagram story and she was like, oh my God, guys, I just listened to the craziest murder podcast, blah, 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 blah. Immediately slid in and I was like, I was like, hey, Lee Tall, love that you listen to podcasts. I actually have one of my own. Feel free to check it out. I would love to have you on it. This is what we do, blah, blah, blah. I was thinking since like you're into The Bachelor, we could talk about that. Like, cause I follow her. I'm like, I'm a huge fan. I know you're into The Bachelor, so we could do polls about that. And like, I know you're like into guys and like, so we could do some juicy relationship ones. And I know that you're into blogging, so we could do that too. And like, I'm also really interested in like your sister's dynamic. So I'd love to talk about that, whatever. Long story short, literally that weekend she came to my house. We recorded a podcast. We got lunch. We worked together the whole day. She's literally one of my really good friends.
Yeah.
So perfect example. And then for even bigger people, like even if it's really weird. You have to dance around talking to bigger people and not be annoying.
Oh yeah.
Cause like, I don't want to be that annoying girl that's like, be on my podcast. And they're like, oh good God, there's nothing I'd rather not do.
Right.
You know?
But you have to, I think at the same time too, you have to risk that. Right?
Yeah.
You got to be like, hey, I want you to be on a podcast. And you're annoying. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Cause you got to ask, you got to make the request.
So the way that I kind of do it, which I found like works is like, even, you know, let's say Alicia's collabing with someone, right? And let's say I'm a big fan and I'm like filming the video. Like at least I can say like, oh yeah, like on my podcast, like I can reference it and then typically they'll be like, oh, what is it? You know?
Oh yeah.
And then I'll like tell them about it and I'll be like, yeah, if you ever want to come on, let me know.
Yeah.
You know?
Amazing.
Just that's so simple. So
right,
it's not
because it puts the ball in their court. It's not like, you're not putting them in a position to be like yes or no.
You never want that to be like the first thing you say in person.
Totally.
Like DM, like get to the point. Like
and
just
then
be like,
if it's genuine too, then they get to be like, yeah, that sounds fun. I want to do it. Not like you're not putting them in a weird spot. I like that. Yeah.
But so many times, I mean, I get so many no responses all the time. Like there's so many CEOs and like business people or whatever that I'll like reach out to and I'll be like, for instance, here's an example. Squeeze is this new massage place that's owned by the girl that started Dry Bar started Squeeze and like the VP of marketing at Dry Bar owns Squeeze. It's this new awesome massage place on Ventura. You should actually go to it.
Okay, amazing. How much is a massage?
I think it's about $100.
Okay.
So
I go to that $20 like cheap.
No, this will change your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I almost don't want it to because then I'm gonna want to spend $100 on massages all the time.
It's epic. So this is what happened. So I was like, okay, this business is so cool. I want the owner on my podcast.
Right.
So, and mind you, I'm like still in the midst of trying to get her on. So I DM'd Squeeze and the owner. I was like, hey, I'm obsessed with like your new company. I haven't tried it out yet. I'm thinking about getting a massage this week, but I would love to have like the owner or like you on my podcast. So I DM'd both the company's Instagram and then her. Immediately the next day in my email, I had an email from Squeeze and they were like, hi Taylor, thanks so much for reaching out. We would love to have you come in for a complimentary massage. Yeah, we would love to have you come in because they knew I was going to probably talk about it, which was so smart on their part too. So they're like, hey, would you like to do this? And I was like, yes, I would love to. I would also love for you, the owner, to be on my podcast.
I will definitely come for the massage, but also,
So, which by the way, like,
can you convert it into like a couples massage? Have you already gone? Could we like make it a 2-person thing?
I know, right? And like just podcast while we're getting massage.
Oh my gosh. Talk about like living the life.
Talk about turning me on, baby. So long story short, I met the owner in person. I was like, you know, I'd really love to have you on, whatever, blah, 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 blah. She's like, okay, we'll think about it. She's definitely hesitant. So I even saw her at an event last night or 2 nights ago.
Like, hey, about that podcast.
And I was like, hey, like, would love to see you. And she's like, yeah, like, we got to get you in again, like, whatever. And so just even like being consistent and persistent and still being nice and like, I'm not going to pressure her to do it, you know, by any means. And I want her to be my friend. Like, I think she's cool. I admire her. And maybe one day she'll want to be on my podcast, you know?
Right.
But I'm always going to.
And that's the thing too, what kind of a fun way to look at it too is like when it's cool enough in their eyes, they're going to want to be on it, right?
And it's fun like knowing that I've planted the seed and I'm going to let God handle it and I'm going to still be persistent and I still, you know, I'm probably going to email her this week and be like, hey, so good seeing you at the event. I can't wait to come into Squeeze like this week or next week. Would you ever be open to being on my podcast? Like, I seriously would love nothing more. We will talk about these points or whatever.
I think another big part of that's super important too is making it making it as easy as possible for them to say yes. So you say it can be as short as 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I just need 30 minutes of time.
At Squeeze.
I can bring everything to you. We can set up whenever you have like a second. If you want to do 30 minutes, if we want to go longer, we can, but like, you know, just a little bit. I could ask you a couple little questions. Like be super, you know, you present whatever it is as the easiest thing possible for them and the lowest level of commitment for them to like get their foot in the door.
Totally.
And then be like, yeah, of course, if you want to, if you're 30 minutes in, she's like, wow, it's been so short. You can be like, yeah, do you want to keep talking?
Exactly.
Like, you know, and you can get a full whatever
You're
it is.
so right. And even like another good example is, you know, Justin Escalona. Yeah. That's how like, you know, Kenzie, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So
So Justin's a YouTuber. He's a really cool guy. So I've been trying to get him on my podcast for a while. And I think he would be so good because he's just like such a character and he's like, I feel like I really want to like
smart.
He's really smart. He's like a boss. And I really want to actually know about like his opinions on like girls in LA and stuff like that. So I think he would be like a really interesting perspective for like people to listen to.
Yes.
Right. So I want to ask him all these juicy questions and I've been trying to pin him down for a long time. Right. And at first I was like kind of talking to his manager and now literally I'll text him like the day of him like, hey, tonight, can you record? You know, but that's just how Justin works. I feel like, I don't know, maybe he's listening to this and
it
he's
is
like,
that easy. It doesn't have to be too.
Yeah. And he's like, he's told me, he's like, yeah, I would love to, but, or like, yeah, I want to, but I can't tonight. Or like, I'm busy tonight. But like, honestly, at least I try. And I know the next time I see him in person, he's going to be like, shoot, I need to be on her podcast. So, I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
And I think that for a lot of people too, like that is genuine as well. Like I can say I've had people come to me, especially like in the past year, which is interesting because I haven't been posting much. People come to me saying like, hey, I want to do a collaboration, like we should get together, and they'll hit me up like maybe 2 or 3 times, and each time I'm like, I would love to. I'm really busy this week and next week, but like I want to do it, you know? And it is genuine. Like it's not.
And I love it when people ping, like I love it when they bother me. Like when they're like, hey, remember this?
Because I respect it. I totally respect it, right? And so I've experienced that with friends. Sometimes it's like, hey, can we do this? Like, yo, I'm really busy. Sometimes like my friend Quibus, who's going to be on the podcast soon, he was like, he's in China right now. And he's like, I'm busy this next week. I'm in China, blah, blah. He's like, yeah, this list of things. And it's like, and I know for him, because he's one of my best friends, it's like genuine. But if it was someone else, I might just say like, hey, I'm really busy this next couple of weeks. Like, and it's real. It's not like I don't want to do it, right? So even if I know that for me, then I know for other people, it's like you're not getting rejected when someone says like, yo, I'd love to, but not right now. Like they mean it, you know? Which I think sometimes like people think like, oh, they're saying no.
And I'm like, okay, if I'm busy and I forget when people DM me and ask me to be on their things, like if I forget, then like Zac Efron's for sure gonna forget and I'm gonna have to bother him double the time.
Right.
But like I respect the hustle and like I actually like it when people are like, hey, reminder, like do you remember, like would you still want to be on this? And I'm like, oh shoot, yes, I really do, but I was just like swamped with finals that week or whatever.
Totally.
So I think just like put yourself out there, be respectful, be nice, and go after what you want.
Yeah, that's good advice.
And provide value.
Okay,
them.
So if we got one more question about the podcast as we're coming to a close here. What should I ask you?
Whatever you want. What are you curious about? What do you want to know for your podcast?
How do you get ears on your podcast? What's like your best advice for?
How do I get what?
Ears on your podcast. It's like
ears.
getting eyes on your video. You know, like how do you get ears on your podcast? How do you get to people that might not know you potentially?
Okay,
like, what have
one
you learned
thing I
about
try
that?
to do is I talk about it a lot.
Okay.
So like, especially like
in person or like on social
media?
In person.
Well, obviously social media, I try to promote it as much as possible. Of course, I even try and like say it in like a feed post. So like, let's say it's like a hot pic of me in a bikini. I'm like, hey guys, new podcast, because people are looking at the bikini pic. So I'm like, may as well put that on my caption. or like new episode or whatever. Like I'm huge on stories. So like I try to post a lot of stories.
Right. You are good at stories.
And throw it in my static feed. Like why the heck not promote it?
Totally.
But the biggest thing that I do is try and talk about it in person. So like, especially because I'm around, we live in LA, like everyone knows someone. So like if I'm like hanging out at an event and like freaking, you know, Zac Efron's there, like he may hear that my creator friends, like they have their own podcast and they're shouting me out every so often, which is awesome. And it's because I'm always in my ear, like, oh yeah, on my podcast, or like, oh, that'd be a good pull from my podcast or whatever.
Right.
And I think not being annoying about it, but like bringing it up, making it known that you have one, making it known that
just naturally. If it's something you actually care about, you're going to like mention it every now and then. And like, that's
exactly.
Good. Yeah.
And so I think just like people knowing, like they associate me with like being a podcast host is like what I want them to think about.
Yeah.
So good. I think talking about it with your friends, and like the more you talk about it, the more you'll naturally bring it up, and like the more content you'll honestly have for your podcast.
Yeah.
Cause like you're always talking about it and like what you want to have on it.
And then it's like, yeah, tomorrow come by. Let's record. Like I really want my podcast to be like that, to where I'm talking with someone, we're having an interesting conversation. I'm like, man, I think people would benefit from hearing this. Let's sit down and talk more and just record our like honest conversation that feels meaningful and helpful.
Totally. Yeah. So yeah, I would say like, and another thing is being on other people's podcasts.
Yeah.
You know, being a catch on someone else's podcast and like them and someone. That's how I found so many people I follow on Instagram. Like I'll be listening to Skinny Confidential. She has a guest on every time, and I'm like, oh my God, I love that person. I'm gonna go follow them. Yeah. You know.
Yeah. So it's like I want to hear more of what they have to say.
I think I've even said in podcasts, I'm like, hey, if you're a small creator and want me on your podcast, hit me up.
Right.
You know?
Right. Hey, if you're a small creator and want me on your podcast, hit me up.
Seriously, though. Like, I want to be on more podcasts, because how else am I going to get people to listen to mine?
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
So, yeah, I'd say those two things.
Dig that. Whatever. Amazing. Last little question for you. I feel like, kind of switching gears here, but I feel like you're someone who's like got a great hustle, got good work ethic, and is like really confident.
That means so much coming from you.
Oh, thanks.
Because you're like a legend. Okay.
Thank you. How do you, well, one, I want to break it up into a couple little pieces and we'll try and answer it quickly, I guess.
Okay.
Confidence. Where does your confidence come from? How do you stay confident? What would be your advice for someone else that's like, oh, I want to make a podcast, I want to make a YouTube channel, but I'm too shy, or I'm too whatever it is? Where does that come from for you?
I think two things. One, you have to surround yourself with people that are always gassing you up.
Okay.
Right? Surround yourself with cool friends that you think are cool and they think you're cool.
Yeah.
Right? You are your 5 best friends.
Encouraging and like affirming.
And it's good to be the dumbest person in the room.
Mm-hmm. You're just going to get smarter.
Yeah. So that. And then the second thing is you got to be unapologetically yourself, because you yourself is like the only, this is so cliche, but like, let's be honest, like you are what makes you different. And like, if you're being someone else, then that's not going to make you stand out.
Yeah.
So like if you're unapologetically yourself, then like no one can make fun of you because you're just being you.
Right.
You know? So I think like the more I'm me and the more I feel me and feel happy and like just like exude confidence is like when I'm the most me. When I'm like doing things that make me happy, I'm staying true to myself. And like that, quite frankly, is what people love the most, is when you're yourself. So I think just like staying true to myself, having people keep me in check, like Kenzie and like Alisha are always checking me like, oh, Taylor, I don't know if I'd say that, or you know, like come down a little bit, like let's turn it down a few notches. Like my family is like always humbling me. Like my brother's like, oh my God, you're so stupid, Taylor, like whatever, which is like
having like a healthy balance of like getting gassed up and then be like, wait, don't be annoying.
Yeah,
like,
you gotta have people that ground you, and I think the biggest thing is who you surround yourself with.
Yeah, that's good. I feel like there's a really good balance there of like really valuing those friends too that are gonna be the ones that come to you and say like, hey, you're not doing this right. Oh my gosh, we're going to a commercial break.
Okay.
I'm a big believer that commitment to fitness and health is one of the most important parts of being a high achiever in all areas of life. From vital endorphin releases to deeper sleep to better emotional, mental, and physical health, increased energy, and confidence in daily life, we all know that we should be staying committed to a consistent workout routine, but knowing what to do and actually sticking with it can be difficult on your own. That's why I've recently launched the online side of my personal training business. I'm a certified personal trainer through the National Council of Certified Personal Trainers, the NCCPT, and I've experience working with a diverse clientele from high-performing athletes to individuals looking to lose 100 pounds or more. One of the most important parts of working with a trainer is having a person who will lay out a plan according to your goals and will continue to check in with you and hold you accountable to showing up and staying on track. Virtual personal training is really simple. I write out a personalized workout plan for you each week, tailored specifically to your fitness goals, and we'll meet once a week via Skype or FaceTime to track your progress, answer any questions you have, and plan out your upcoming week. Most of my in-person clients pay $75 to $85 a session, which is really typical for a lot of big box gyms, places like 24 Hour Fitness, LA Fitness, Equinox, and the like. Which in my opinion is still a very worthwhile investment in your own health. But my personal training online programs are just $50 a week for a limited time until my schedule fills up. This is something that I've just recently launched and I'm really excited about. So if you are interested or have any questions, shoot me an email at jakeroque3@yahoo.com. That's Jake, ROQUE 3@yahoo.com with the subject line PT. And I will set you up with a free fitness assessment call where we'll talk through some of your goals and get started on a plan that works for you. Excited to hear from you. Let's get back to the show. Okay, confidence, amazing. Work ethic and motivation. I feel like those go together a little bit. What are like things that you've learned that have been really helpful?
I think I've always naturally had this weird drive in me. Like I honestly think a lot of it came from like my family and sports, like to be the best and like to grind until you get what you want or whatever. But also like recently, like being on my own and having to pay my own stuff, like what is it? My mom always says it's like necessity drives. I forget the end of the quote. It's going to drive me nuts, but necessity drives like having to pay your bills drives like motivates you to get the job done
when you're
or
like
to
backs
whatever.
up against the wall, you're going to make it happen.
Yeah. So I would say that, but what motivates me? God, this is so hard because I genuinely like, I mean, there are times when I'm not motivated, but like deep down, like I'm a pretty motivated person. Like I guess it's just, I want to be able to like prove to my friends and family that I'm going to make this into a career. I'm really passionate about, you know, having a career and being a boss and making a way for myself when like people don't think I can't. Cause like, I guess my career path isn't very normal. And for me, like my biggest thing is one day I want to not have to explain myself, you know? And so my drive every day is to like, get up. I know that like if I get up and I work out, then that's the start of a good day. So why would I not do that? Yeah. You know?
Totally.
So that's like, for instance, like getting up and working out, like that's knowing that that's going to kickstart my day to have a productive day. That motivates me to get up and work out.
Everything else better.
Yeah. It's just like, and it goes hand in hand with discipline. Like there's a gazillion things I could say, but I think that like the underlying, like what motivates me is that one day I want to be able to provide for myself and my family and like my future husband. And that's like my driving force is just like, and making my family and friends proud. Right. So I would say that's like my big thing, but little things are like, working out and stuff like that. Yeah,
that's good. I dig that. Amazing. I feel like there's more I could talk to you about, but I feel like that's a good place to wrap it up. Yeah. Thanks so much for coming on. I feel like I learned a lot. I feel like people here have learned a lot. I hope so. Guys, TK's Juicy Pod. In fact, I've been on it once before. We're about to record another episode of it, and it's going to be the juiciest one so far.
It's going to be so juicy. Yeah. Like literally, it's going to be so juicy.
Yeah. Think about like biting into like a tomato or like and it just peach, like sprays everywhere.
Like a summer peach.
It's like obnoxiously juicy. Yeah.
This like turns into an ASMR podcast.
It's so
juicy. Juicy, baby.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on. You're so smart. You're so cool.
Guys, go rate and review his podcast.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Seriously, it means a lot. So
it
go
does.
Do that.
Yeah. And it helps a lot, especially right at the beginning. So if you enjoyed this, go hop. If you're on YouTube, you can like and subscribe, that kind of stuff. If you're on any of the podcast apps, there's a way you can go about rating, reviewing. It means a lot, helps a lot. Also, TK, we shout out your Instagram. Can you say it one more time?
Yeah, it's at TK's Juicy Pulls. So it's TKS Juicy POLLS.
Right. If you search TK's Juicy Pod, you're going to find the podcast. Anything else you want them to know about you?
Nope. Slide in my DMs if you want to be on my pod.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Ditto to that. All right. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you super soon.
Peace.
Peace out.